Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Watchtower, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Now we know the only good is the potential for the publishers when they get out, and their innate goodness within, therein upon within. Some bad and ugly. I was doing my research for the last and final video in this three-part series about the governing body, knowing what they're doing and doing it anyway. And I came across, I noticed that from watching the videos of the cart witnessing and unwitnessing, what have you, I noticed that the witnesses displayed some behavior that is passive-aggressive. So I was looking up the passive-aggressive, and then I was looking up some of the Russian court documents of the Russian ban and the court case documents from the European Human Rights Coalition with the defense attorneys to the Watchtower. I'll put that down here. It's a 57-page report. I wanted to read their view of it, the defense attorneys' view of it, to see what their arguments for getting the ban reversed or stopping the ban, because this had been going on. They knew about the ban way in advance. This actually goes back to 1996 and on from there. In the 57-page report, they go into that. You can read all the sections. And then I watched the Kim and Mikey Watchtower lawyer Philip Bumbley video, where he says the linguistic studies, they're using linguistic studies on us and our publications. And in that research, I knew about this from another source, that Russia had some academics in like psychiatry and sociology and stuff. There was like 5 academics, according to the defense attorneys for Watchtower. And they researched all the publications and did interviews and of XJWs and everything, and they watched the videos, and they came to this conclusion that the lawyer Philip Bumbley for the Watchtower is talking about in the video. And I'm going to put everything down below, and because I can't say everything because you got to watch the videos. And in this research, there are 7 things that the Russia, that they came to the conclusion with, and they said to the Russian authorities, the academics said, okay, here's the professionals in their field said, here's what we found, here's our findings. And it wasn't just in linguistic studies like Philip Bumbley states. They only picked 7 things because I found 3 dozen more and they're all here. I'm only going to do 6 at a time. I didn't realize the extent of the Watchtower's use of indoctrination and what their tactics were. I had no idea it was so extensive and that they're using all these things. Also, before I get into that, the Watchtower, the professionals for the Russia that did their research. Any other country can get this information, do their own research to peer review what Russia's professionals did, and then they'll come to the same conclusions. The defense for Watchtower, their main arguments against the ban were freedom of religion. They kept coming back to that, and there's like, act or article, 19 something, and the numbers of what it was, just like in our laws, you know, you'll have the numbers and year associated with it and stuff like this. So they, in different sections of their defense, they would state, you know, in words, blah, 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 in the legalese, and then cite that freedom of religion. They did this like 5-6 times. That's really their only defense. There was another one they used once, is the freedom to associate with others kind of thing. The terminology's there, but you can read it for yourself. But they only had freedom of religion to go with. That's it. And they would just like pick holes at the Russian authorities used interviews from like 100 XJWs, and they would say, well, they tried to minimize everything, like the breaking up of families. So Russia used these 7 things, and they actually, in extremism, there's a great video by Marcus Vaughn that I'm going to put there, where he talks about all the things we did as publishers. They're all extreme, and he goes into that, and I'll let you watch that because it's awesome. And I don't have to, he has all that information of why. So in Russia, their definition of what extremism is and what would fall under that, the Watchtowers violated all those categories. That's why they only had to use 7 of them. In the research of this, I came across, like I said, I have no idea. I'm only going to get into 6 of them. But before I do that, I'm going to go and explain something real quick. We all have limited time. And when I got awake and when I got involved in this, there wasn't as many, there was a lot of YouTube channels, ExJW and YouTube channels, or Christian YouTube channels that want to help us out, right? And now there's over 200. I'm subscribed to all of them, and there's something there for everybody, and it's just growing and growing. I now can't keep track of them all. There's too many. It just would take me too much time. But what I did, I have like a circle of like maybe 30 of them that I float around in. And what I'm saying is, if I had to tell somebody with limited time that it could only pick so many, and that's it, I would say the most important ones I've found are ex-Bethelites. And you got to figure this. These people, like the Sea Org in Scientology, that's their core. The people who give up the most. They give up their whole life is spent. Yes, our lives revolved around the Watchtower. Their lives are at headquarters. They're in Watchtower. I mean, they gave up the most. They give up the most. So what they have to say is going to tell us stuff that we don't know in the Kingdom Hall. Elders don't even know. They know things from being an elder and being in at Bethel, and they can tie everything together, all in one. They have that, so they have this great perspective. So I have a list down there, or I'll show you a list on screen of the ones I follow, the Bethelites I follow. If you know more ex-Bethelites that have channels, let me know down in the comments, man. I'll subscribe to them. The top one, in my opinion, if I had to pick one, man, is XJW Critical Thinker. They are a couple who left Bethel and still managed to stay together. Their love for each other was that strong. A lot of couples don't stay together because what we base it on is them being a witness and rising in the ranks. That's, we're not taught how to properly pick mates, or what it's built on is just a shallow foundation. It's just like 1-2 things. That's not enough. So Lady C, she has a women's part of the channel that's that talks about things with the women in JW. I watch them because they're awesome. there's something there. Even, you know, I'm sure other guys sneak in there and watch them too. And at first, the first one I watched, I was like, should I be watching this? Because it's supposed to be for all the women, you know? It's their like thing, but they're awesome. So anyway, aside from that, say you want comedy, you want some humor, man. I have a list that I'm going to put up on the screen for humor and stories and some facts, you know. These guys like Vinny V will tell stories about stories being in there, having been in the JWs for so long. And his stories often go into things that not only happened to him, but like things that, how it affected him later in life, and the relationships and this and that. And there's some really cool stories in there that he tells, and I never know what I'm going to hear. I never know what I'm going to see. It's great, and he has most of the time he has me laughing, just the way he does it. There's also this name I love, Runaway Slave 4747, but Runaway Slave, you know, just so fitting. But it's Gerald Dyer, heck of a musician. So he has all these skits and real stories about, you know, his are riddled with humor. Like I said, I got a great buddy who's helped me out through the years. That's an XJW. Most of his family's still in, but he always looked in and out of the Kingdom Hall. He always looked at everything with a sense of humor, and it's awesome. So he has me always in stitches, like these guys. So, and there's some other ones on there. Bob has these funny, real hilarious skits, way over the top, crazy, funny, laugh your butt off. So anyway, about that. So this, as far as this going, how do we know the governing body knows what they're doing now and still do it anyway? Well, if you know Paul Grundy, if you're familiar with Paul Grundy and JW Facts, the website and the YouTube channel, he was a Bethelite and governing body assistant. He points to some really good evidence, and I have some sites that I put up there for you to also. There's a great one with Vivian and Vivian. Well, it's down there. Something about the JW robbing Christendom's pantry. Okay, that's also down there. This is what's going on. Why is one of the solid proofs that they know what they're doing and do it anyway. They have the Watchtower has an extremely long history of misquoting people out in the secular world or in the Christian world. They have a long history of bolstering their beliefs in their publications with, they use all these Christendom quotes from famous scholars and professors and theologians, reverends. And what I learned from the Vivian and her husband's channel that I have down there, I'm sorry I don't remember your name. I have a problem remembering nouns. It's called nominal aphasia. Anyway, there's many aphasias, but that's one of them. So also I have Goat Bones' latest video on there. A video from Bridget AZ, Watchtower Examination Channel, and there's a famous case that Watchtower, when they came out with the New World Translations, the Unholy Scriptures, they said they had an endorsement by this famous Bible scholar. And in one of my videos, he's an older man by then, but he's holding one of their interlinears, and he has a New World Translation in front of him, and he's unequivocally stating he did not endorse them, and he did the opposite. So in with this terminology of the tactics they use, those doing what they're doing is also named in psychology and mnemonic encoding and there's a name for what they do when they say the opposite of what something means in their language. In fact, what shocked me is, I'm trying to keep all this together. There is so much here for me to keep. That's why I have to break this down into sections when I go through, that it made my mind spin, man. And I can do hours worth of research and stuff, but this is not just that, it's reality, man. And it hits you. It hit me. And so that's why I seem a little disheveled here, trying to keep it all together in a way that I can present this complicated stuff in a I'm layman at it, but I have all the info. So in a way that everybody can follow what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you a rundown and start with 6 of the cult tactics that they use, the indoctrination tactics. There's known psychological lists of them. And believe me, you haven't heard of these. I didn't. I mean, I've heard of mind control and groupthink and sheeple. Sheeple's an actual psychological term. It's actually real. I didn't know that. I see people typing that in the comments, and it's funny, and I think of sheep, and I get it, you know. But it's an actual name that has research behind it for years and all this stuff, right? And that's one of these too. That's one of the 3 dozen. I had to stop at 3 dozen, man, because it just was taking so many hours. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that are named by sociologists, psychologists, and this whole body. You know, it's a field that's been around for a long time. So, but I had to focus on the ones that just pertain to indoctrination techniques by the Watchtower. So sifting through all these different, you'll go down the rabbit hole, and there's a lot. So, okay, so they're misquoting people. They got rid of their blood doctrine pamphlet because of that, because they went over the top with it, and they just stopped, and they tried to hide it and get rid of it and everything. They got out of hand. Well, this has been going on for so long. Now, when professionals find that they've been misquoted, and people, famous researchers that, you know, they've given their whole lives up for the study of something, and they go to, a lot of them will contact the Watchtower via lawyers, attorneys. Now, I don't care who you are. You can be an executive. You can be an owner of a business or organization. You can be, I don't care who you are. When you get threatened legally, when there's, you will be notified. You won't be kept in the dark, because legal things can have serious ramifications. So the governing body, and I'm going to use my good friend Penny Tarrant from Canada's turned me on to this, amongst a lot of other things. Very, very wise about what's going on with all this stuff. Is there's shadow people, to use her terminology, behind, that are in addition to the governing body, that know what's going on as well and benefit from the money that's taken in and the goods off others. And so they will be notified. You can't say that in years and years, 20 years, whatever they've been in, that they never heard of a lawyer coming after them for misquoting people. They got this vault that they put all the apostates' letters in, and all the news articles against them and everything in. It's in this room where they can go look into it, and things just get put in there. So they look at things, they read things. John Cedars has a thing where he actually talked to one of the governing bodies. The governing body didn't know. John was kind of pretending, he was pretending to be someone else, and then as their conversation went along, a friend reminded me of that. I got to watch that again, because I don't remember a lot of it. So they get involved with what they're doing. They are not blind people. Along with that, they would know that they're doing, these misquotes are so blatant and so purposeful to get to bolster their stuff and to make you believe a certain thing you're reading. They don't even want you to look up. You'll get in trouble if you look up. You know, they'll say, instead of saying this is from Reverend so and so, they'll say it's from so and so. They'll get rid of the Reverend part. They'll never give a title. They don't give. They don't give that courtesy that everybody else does. They got to be. There's a name for that crap too. So anyway, that's a very solid evidence. Multiple evidence that they do know what they're doing. They know they're misquoting, things are misquoted, and they're lying. Chalk it up to spiritual warfare. Well, that's on here too. That's one of the things I'll go over. There's a name for that too. So the governing body, if they were arrested and put in different rooms by the FBI, and the FBI is just hitting with all this stuff that they've done, and that they have to have known that they've done and allowed and keep doing. They can't just say, oh, it's spiritual warfare. Our ultimate goal, the ends justifies the means. Our ultimate goal is to get Jehovah's name out to the world, right? So Armageddon can kill you all, right? That's in here too. They're actually, by them saying that, or if they use that as an excuse, they're doing more of their stuff. And this is just a little bit of it. They're doing more psychological manipulation. So that can't work either. Notice the best thing for them to do is just be honest. Yeah, we do it. We don't care. We like it. Whatever. You're not going to hear that. So, also in crisis of conscience, France says about there's no spirituality, just corporate financial behavior. There's a recent, in addition to France saying that it's a corporation. They're running it like they talk like it. There's no spirituality when they do these things. They're not looking at the Bible and saying, they're not really answering to the Bible, to God or Jesus. They're not. They know they're not answering to them. They do. They have no. They just do whatever they want. So forget about what we thought. They're all spiritual up there, and there's a name for that too, of what we thought of them. So, and also Goat Bone. I'm going to put Goat Bone's channel down there, and I'll put his recent video link. He talks about. He has more evidence for this, and that they're more corporate. There's no talk about spirituality or Jehovah even. It's just corporation. It's just the bottom line, how much shit's costing, how can we save these guys money up top. That's the way I look good to my boss up top. I'm not going to reveal what's in Goat's Bone video. I'll tell you though, it's some powerful stuff, man. And it's further evidence that they know what they're doing. Their God is money. It's not the God that they're trying to. It's not Jehovah. Well, we know Jehovah's the Watchtower anyway. They're one and the same. Anyway, so also I put Marcus Vaughn's videos in there because some more evidence. I made a video on this and what they do to Bethelites and how one died on a park bench from getting kicked out after 40 years of working in the press room. He died, froze to death on a park bench. But if you watch Marcus Vaughn, he's made these videos. He made these videos really. You can see it's raw. He goes back a long way, on his videos. And you can watch from the time where he was kicked out to where he had to go to his dad's best friend, picked him up. His dad wasn't a JW, thank God. Owns a mechanic. He owns his own auto, shop, and so it's still raw, man. And he's telling you all that. They don't even supply beds. You go to Bethel, there's no beds. You have to get your own bed. He'll tell you all about it. But the way they kicked him out, they don't look after him, or their district overseers. They kick them out. Unlike the Catholic Church, which they love to hate and love to steal from. They steal a lot of stuff from the Catholic Church, including the name Jehovah. from the Catholic monk and Martini. Anyway, so every other religion we know that's a bona fide religion, like it or lump it, they take care of their clergy. You know, they especially in old age, man. They take care of them. So, and there's undisputable proof that France was disgusted with the Watchtower's behavior and demanded that they put money in for their kingdom hall, you know, for their clergy, and because they call them clergy in their law stuff, right? They don't call them clergy in their kingdom halls and stuff. No, you know. But when it comes to law, they'll say whatever they have to get whatever they need to. But their response was just to close everything down and get the heck out of there. The legal tactics they use. If you have the wherewithal and the time and feel like it, not all at once, you don't have to, but the 57-page report from the Human Rights Watch of Europe and the JW's lawyers about the court battle they had with, you know, for the ban on Russia's ban. You can see the legal tactics they're using. I'll give you a hint. For every extremist, in order to violate and be labeled and stamped as an extremist, you have to violate these different things, right? That Russia has on their constitution or whatever. And if you read the individual ones, there's a word force that's used. So you force your members to do this or that. The legal team of the Watchtower honed in on this word, and they used it as their get out of jail card and saying, well, the Watchtower doesn't force its members to break up families or do this or do that or use their undue influence in their publications. They use force as a physical thing, and they defined it like violence. But Russia's whole thing is their attorneys that force can be used other ways, which are ways that the psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists have already investigated for years. A lot of these are old, man. Some new ones, some from the 60s, some the 70s, some from 1800s, early 1900s. The Watchtower's been around long enough that they encompass all these. They're all from dates that the Watchtowers existed. And lots of research. So they've utilized every one of these. Crazy is that every one of these has a treatment that you can help somebody that's been influenced by one of these tactics. And I started reading the treatments. What jumped out at me immediately is that the Watchtower engages fully in blocking every one of these treatments. So there's no way. So what I'm trying to say here is, in the grand scheme of things, is we were up against, when people say, oh, you had to be dumb to be taken by a cult, by a destructive cult. Because I started in the ex-Scientology community and researched that for a year, and that's how I finally had the wherewithal to bite the bullet and get awoken fully by the XJW community helping me and going down and diving in that pool. I noticed something that you'll notice if you do watch any of the ex-Scientology channels. Aaron Smith-Levin, Chris, there's so many, is that they're all really smart. Any one of these guys or gals, if that didn't happen to them with the cult, they weren't born in or they weren't tricked into joining, they all would have been whatever they wanted to be. They could have been astronauts, they could have been doctors, whatever, anything they wanted. They could have owned their own plumbing company, business, started as a plumber, got a van and went from there. They're smart. You can just tell by listening to them talk. It doesn't matter how smart you are. They've already done research on this. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. Um, and now now I understand why. We were up against at least 32 that I found psychological indoctrination techniques that are employed by the Watchtower, and the blocking of any of their treatments by the Watchtower. This could only be done intentionally. Everything matches to a T. There's no way that this is not intentional. There's just no way. Which is, I believe, irrefutable evidence. And I also want to say this. The Watchtower has been, the analogy people use sometimes is a pyramid scheme. And I agreed with that for a while, and I still agree with it, but it's actually only half correct. A pyramid scheme is one that the person at the top gets money from the next, say, 2 people. Those 2 people get money from these 3 and pass money up to this one. And so on down. And the more you get up, the more money you make from the people below you. And the more people below you there are, right? Money goes up. You get part of it and move the rest on up. It doesn't come down. Also, a pyramid scheme benefits the people as it, more so as it goes up. The Watchtower, though, only benefits the people at the top. The money doesn't come down, just like Scientology. There's no sharing. No sharing. If they give any money, even to their Bethelites, it's $125. Marcus Vaughn states when he was in. That's for your gas. You got to run all around for any repairs if you have a vehicle. If you don't have a vehicle, you have to pay $4 to get to the Kingdom Hall from someone that does. That's for your toiletries, any feminine products. That's not money trickling down. That's just, I can't even say any more about that. But so, unlike a pyramid scheme, there's no money shared. Same with Scientology. They get like $50 a week after taxes, like $45, and that's for everything they, they'll feed you and stuff, just like at the Watchtower. But so anyway, that if you are the only one getting the benefit at the top, the spoils, the governing body gets spoils. They get all the spoils, right? The gold Rolex watches that he just wore right on TV without a second thought. Their fancy tailored suits. We know they have tailored. We can see their suits. They get jet set around the world. They're allowed to take gifts of any size or any smallness. They get some petty cash every month or whatever, however it is. If you're getting all the spoils, you have to take all the responsibility. Saying you didn't know, those who get the spoils take all of it. You take all of it, you get all of it. That means all the responsibilities on their head. This is how I feel. I feel that we can't go to politicians and want them to do something about this, and the government and the law, when we can't define. If we keep giving the governing body excuses, they're infallible men. This is what the JWs do, the publishers do. This is what we did when we were in. They're not inspired or infallible. They're men, just, no excuses. They get all the spoils. They take full responsibility for all the indoctrination, all the abuse, all the bullshit. The blood's on their hands. Not just on their hands, they're swimming in it. They're swimming in it. A little microcosm in that builds up to a macrocosm is the blood card. The way the law works is, this is how an attorney can get through it and how they're working on getting through this. The Watchtower claims that. What do you think they're going to claim? Well, they signed it, and on there it says it's their choice, all theirs. They're taking full responsibility for their choice. Problem is, who supplied them with the card and who wrote the card? Who typed the card up? Who supplied it to the members? Who put the line that there's a sign on? The Watchtower. You can't escape some culpability when you do that. Your hands aren't clean in the eyes of the law. So let's look at this. So they do spiritual abuse without a conscience. So I was watching a thing about the difference between narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths. And I watched, it was really awesome. And what happened, what I learned is, and then I watched some FBI TED Talks about this kind of thing. And sociopaths are born that way. They are born without a conscience. You are no different than my cup that I put my drink in. You're there as a tool to be used for whatever purposes I see fit, right? They don't have a conscience. Sociopaths were born with consciences. Just something in their life made them suppress the conscience enough to kill people. So you're drug dealer, kingpin. He has people murdered, or he has murdered when he was moving up the ranks because he had this hard life. Do or die, had school of hard knocks, where you can be so hardened that if you kill a bad person, you perceive them as bad, then why should you have a conscience to them, So these are the sociopaths, and they can get there different ways from what happened in their lives, right? And then both of those categories are narcissists. Both are narcissists. Narcissists are not sociopaths, and they're not psychopaths. Why I'm bringing this up? The people in charge of the Watchtower, the shadow rulers and the governing body, the people who can sign for checks, the people who have the rights to the publications, who have control of the money and the publications, the copyrights, right? The people who have those and that can control the money, in other words, they're not under it's not like an accountant who can write a check to payroll that it's under the umbrella or whatever. It's the actual people, when the dust settles, who have control of what makes money for the organization. Publication, copywriting, of their books and all the stuff, and control over the financial aspects, property, all that. These are the people who are benefiting. Now, these people have to know people have died from the blood rule, two-witness rule. They have to know about the suicides. They know about all that kind of stuff. They know about how it hurts families, and they make up, by using these at least 32 indoctrination tactics, you got to put 2 and 2 equals 4, man. It doesn't equal 5. In fact, that's one of the 32. 2 plus 2 equals 5. And some mathematical thing too. Anyway, how can they sleep at night? How can they go through life and go up and show their faces and give these talks and lie right to your face on JW.org and on their videos? How can they do this, right? Well, according to the FBI and other fields, when you have a group that runs things like this, a destructive cult, and it's more than one. So if it's one person controlling it, you'll often have people that are henchmen that are. Hitler had this, where he surrounded himself with people he knew would do what he said. They were either compromised by alcoholism, they had weak, ego. So what happens is, I'm not saying that all these 8 guys, now 8 governing body members, are psychopaths. I am saying they're narcissists. They're also, some of them are psychopaths. And what happens in a group where all members aren't psychopaths is that the psychopaths will control the other ones. It's very easy for them to do. They're master manipulators. They have no conscience. They don't get nervous. They don't sweat. They can rob a bank and not sweat, not get nervous, where you and I would be like freaking out. Our heart would be racing. They're not physically born. They've done MRIs to prove this. They're not physically born with the capacity to respond that way that you and I would. It's not there. They can't learn it. You can't change it. They're born like that, which makes them so dangerous. There are female and male psychopaths. One of the interesting things I learned about this is, well, how can a governing body member be a psychopath? How can one of the shadow people be? Well, people may think about, when they think of a psychopath, they may think about the movie where Hannibal Lecter or whatever, you know. Yes, that is a psychopath, but not all psychopaths rape and murder people and kill people. There's executives that the FBI has met that have stolen $100 million that are psychopaths. They have no conscience of it. They all respond the same way, and the FBI and other professionals actually have mapped out what their responses are like, how they'll behave, what their cues are. There are cues that they can't hide physically because they're subconscious. So this is not like someone that can pass a lie detector test even though they're lying. These are cues that they pick up on that are subconsciously presented to the investigator. And anyway, they won't tell us all of them. They give us an outline of them. Some of the early common ones, but they don't want to give all their stuff away. They got this stuff down, man. There are psychopaths who, like the one video I saw where this man married a woman, had no idea for 4 or 5 years. She did all the psychopath tactics that they do on him, and then pulled the rug out from under him so he would commit suicide or just fall apart as a person. Her shtick was, her thing that she did is building someone up and tearing them down. And then every 4 years she would go off to a new man and do the same thing. Very, very twisted. But they diagnosed her as a psychopath. And the video is fascinating. I'll give you I don't know if I'll give you the link unless you contact me through Gmail, my Gmail account or something, because it's a video that is done by a group that goes to different places around the country, to hotels and stuff, and gives seminars. But there's some foul language in it, and it's not for everybody. So anyway, so but it's fascinating. So that's how they can sleep at night. So there are different psychopaths, have to learn their craft just like everybody else, man. And it takes a long time for them to, they're great innately, but they have to learn. That CEO, to get in that position to steal $100 million, you can't get to that position overnight. It took that guy years to get up there, stepping on whoever he had to, not feeling bad about it, not breathing hard, not just so relaxed, But it took a long time. Now, would he kill people and rape them as well if he had more time to live? Probably, because to us, the rape and murder of children is worse than stealing the $100 million, okay? But to a psychopath, there's no difference in that. There's no difference. Whatever they're doing to wreck everything else around them is no different than we see the difference. They don't. To them, it doesn't matter. They don't have consciences like that to weigh things out like that. So this girl, woman that would go around wrecking men's lives every 4 years, when I mean she would get them, she would get them. That she had to learn that, how to manipulate like that, to where, you know, this guy's a professional that she did it to. He's actually in the world of psychology and diagnoses, and he couldn't even see it, and neither did his colleagues. They saw a few times where she was off and very shallow about things. They gave her her own TV show or YouTube channel show to run, and when they asked her about 3 weeks out about stuff, she couldn't see. One thing they can't do is they can't complex things out. They only can do what they think's coming up, right? So they said, oh wow, she has no knowledge of what she might do 3 weeks out, or what might take place in the show, or any facet that was out beyond a certain point. They cannot comment on, because they have no, everything they do is just, you can watch these things and get into it, and they'll explain it very well. But anyway, there are signs to pick up on. So that's how good she was. She couldn't even be spotted. So they're often like that. You just can't spot them when they're don't want to be. So the governing body, they know that they're shunning people. They know that they're thinking for people. They know about the 2-witness rule and what it does. They know about the 2 verses down where Jesus says, for that guy that raped the woman in the field where there was no witnesses, he says, stone that guy, stone him to death. They know that that's down there, 2 verses down from their verse they use for the 2-witness rule. They know that. They know they're misquoting people. They know they wrote their own a Bible. It's not a Bible, but they know they wrote their own thing and it's bullshit. They know it's full of lies and it's changed. They know all this. Okay? So they know they're using intentional quotes from Christendom, and that they are misquoting people. So when you watch these videos down below, you'll see that clearly. Jeffrey Jackson swearing on the Bible at the Royal Commission, Australian Royal Commission, and then he lies. He lies right in court. Okay? We got to have zero tolerance for these guys. So what would make JW publishers in Russia protect the paraphernalia from Watchtower before themselves? So they were worried about all the awakes and Watchtowers and publications more than they were their own self-interest. How would someone do that? How is it that happens? Okay. So if you might have heard of loaded language before, they use that. The governing body knows they're stealing and lying. They'll steal from everywhere and everywhere. They'll steal from other cults, other religions, Freemasonry. They'll steal from everything. Just like Ron Hubbard did in Scientology, and just like Joseph Smith did. They do the same things. It's easier to nail down who has control of the money. In Scientology, it's David Miscavige. He got control of the money. And in the Watchtower, when Rutherford took over, he, being a lawyer, he used his law advantage to his benefit to gain power and to get that control of the money and to be the one that has the rights in their name. Okay? Whoever holds those rights within the organization has the power, is getting the benefits. That's the bottom line. Because they do no charity. No going to other countries and getting cleft palates for kids. No buying. When I didn't have a winter coat in the Watchtower because we were too poor, and I had to put like those hoodies on, multiple, did they buy me a winter coat? How do people let this organization get away with it? Well, once I get into this stuff, you'll understand more of how they do that. So they don't help their members. I'm just going through my notes here so I don't miss anything. If one of the members' house burned down in a fire, they ain't gonna help. And I want to thank somebody. I want to thank Sitting Straight 12 for creating the picture of Let here, and the guy from Applewhite from the other cult. They had 12 people kill themselves with Nike sneakers on and jumpsuits, waiting for Haley's comet to take them away. I believe it was Haley's. So the Watchtower, they propagate what's called learned helplessness. They use like rote mind memory. They give you the opposite meaning. They speak out of both sides of their mouth. Okay, how they can get away with this blatantly? When I get into this stuff, you'll understand. So they have their own language. It's their us versus them mentality. Bridget from A to Z has a video, and I put the link down below. She's one of my all-time favorites. What a gal, man. What a Christian. Where she calls headquarters and has a Bible question. The one video I'm going to give you is about how they control the minds of reading their publications to their publishers. As part of their indoctrination. They actually spell everything out. That's hers to show, so you can watch the video. It's freaking awesome. But I noticed one of the reasons I went down this path too with the passive aggressive is every time she calls up a Kingdom Hall and talks to a publisher or an elder, is they always come to the point where the cognitive dissonance is too much and they have to go. I gotta go, or I'll research this. They all have the same spiels. I'm leaving right now for the ministry field service, or they get the heck out of there. They also do this at their cart witnessing. They get the heck out of there. They're being passive aggressive against the governing body, and the faithful and discreet slave class tells them to be courageous. Be courageous. Even at their carts, they're being passive aggressive, even they learn from their masters, man. Well, that's passive aggressiveness, getting the heck out of there. Passive aggressiveness, I didn't know this with all these tactics. They each have what you'll see as the symptoms of someone that's under the influence of one of these tactics, or that is doing whatever it is that the tactic is. Like I said, with the passive aggressiveness, there's like 8 things that they will do. One of them is hightailing it out of there when they're confronted about things. That's that's in the category of passive aggressive. It's one of the things. So, all right, I'm going to put all those in there. I wanted to read this from one of my older videos prior videos that I didn't add in at the time. This is a person who was a former witness, and this whole thing is from an apologetics website about ExJWs. But I caught this one because most of it on here. Okay, so they're telling about a visit from a governing body member. In fact, in Spain, the government told Jehovah's Witnesses that this is in Spain, this is a different one, told Jehovah's Witnesses that their unpaid Bethel workers deserve a pension like any other employee, and that they need to pay for that. Bethel, Spain was promptly closed and sold. All unpaid workers kicked to the curb without housing or money, because we can't go paying these people normal wages and pensions like every other laborer would get, right? You know, it's not like they don't have $3 billion in the bank. They also hired the top 3 software developers in the that are out there. They also do that. They spend enough money to do that. Okay, so there was an instance about this XJW who says about there was once an instance years ago where a JW attending a convention in Toronto happened to meet a member of the governing body. He was adamant for the governing body member to allow him to at least buy him a cup of coffee. The governing body member acquiesced, but stated that he only drank out of china and not styrofoam nor paper cups. The local witness went off on a rather lengthy search to get the governing body this cup of coffee and eventually ended up bribing a restaurant owner to let him borrow a china cup to take the governing body member's coffee. And so that was that. These tactics that I'm going to go over, I have to do it on the next video. Start them. That's in here too, how somebody would do that and not see that this guy was pompous. The guy should have said, oh, thank you so much. You know, it'd be an honor because if I don't take this from you, it's like a slap in the face. No, he had to have china, and he waited. And you know, these things are just like Goatbone's video. You watch that, and you'll see some of that behavior in what he's going to tell you about meeting one of these clowns. Okay, so it's already a long video here, so maybe that lays the groundwork for me to start getting into this 32 indoctrination techniques. I'm going to tell you the date that they started, so you get an idea about that. I'm not going to go into every one like crazily, but I'm going to give you the highlights of what they are. You've seen some of them already flash by. Your mind is going to be blown, man. I didn't know we were up against all that. We had no chance, man. No wonder it takes years to get better afterwards. It takes years for you to wake up. And how is a parent going to let their kid die without a blood transfusion? It's all in these indoctrination tactics that they're using. They make a lot of sense after you. Psychology's already known all about this, man. They've known all about the Watchtower for a long time. It's just now more of them are starting to know. More people are listening and helping. Okay, God bless, and I'll see you on the next video.